Can you hear me? Hello? Do you have a favorite object? Because we're going to be drawing a picture of an object today. That would be a still life. A still life is a picture of a thing or an object. And when we draw a still life, we're focusing on drawing details, overlapping, and shading. Today we're going to be focusing on the details, but we're still going to be practicing a little bit of overlapping and shading. The details are what make an object look realistic. The details are what make this cardboard box look like a phone. Every detail makes it look a little bit more realistic. So what I want you to do is find a cool object to draw today. I'm going to be drawing a shoe. And then come back with a piece of paper and a pencil, and let's get drawing. For this still life drawing, we're going to be focusing on drawing one object, and we're going to focus on how to draw the details in that object. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to draw the basic shape. Also, I'm going to add the ground or the table that it's sitting on. So I have a line in the back that represents the edge of the table. So now I have a shape of a shoe. That's the most general detail I can have, the shape of the entire thing. From there, we add the large details first. And you can see that I'm constantly adjusting things. So if I notice that this curve is actually lower, I'm gonna draw it lower. I'm not gonna worry too much about erasing things yet, because as I get all the details in, I'll be able to tell which things to keep and which things to get rid of. So all the while I'm drawing this, I'm actually looking at the shoe that I'm drawing. Another large detail in a picture of a shoe is this space here where the laces are. Another large detail on a shoe is the bottom of the shoe. It takes up a lot of space. And now it looks like I'm ready to start doing details that are a little bit smaller. So I'm continuously just adding one piece at a time to my shoe, starting with the largest pieces first and then adding smaller and smaller details until I'm completely out of details. So there's lots of stitching on this shoe. So again, I'm just gradually adding more little by little. Now, one of the important things that you can do by actually looking at the shoe instead of trying to make it up is I can look and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes for the laces. So I can put the actual number of holes. This hole is covered by the shoelaces because the laces are draping over. So right about here on my shoe that I have is the knot for the laces. And then this comes down, actually, this comes down this way. So whatever object you chose to draw, just remember, start with the large shape of the object. If it has a geometric shape, start with that. So if it's a bottle, you might start with a cylinder. If it's a box, you might start with a cube or a rectangular prism. So start with the basic shape, add some big details on it, add some medium-sized details on it, and as you're doing that, you constantly fix things. I'm noticing right now this actually curves down a little bit more, and this actually goes up a little bit more. So these two pieces are actually closer together. You can see the shoe is becoming more and more realistic looking as I add more details. So you just keep working on it, back and forth, back and forth. Another thing that you can draw, which is kind of a large detail, you might not think of it as a detail in the beginning, but the shadow underneath the shoe is also a detail. And that shadow is what's going to make the shoe look like it has some weight. And it's going to make it look like it's sitting on this table. So now I'm going to outline it. Normally I wouldn't outline this, I would shade it and color it, but I'm going to outline this one just so that we can focus on the details. And now that we've traced all of the big details in, focus on those small details. As you can see, these little stitches, they're not hard to draw, but these small details are going to make the difference. People are going to see this and they're going to say, wow, look how realistic that looks. You just have to make sure you look really closely at your object and find those details and not just thinking you know where those details are. So here's the shoe before I finish up adding some shading to it. But remember, the details are so important. If you can get down all the way to those small details, there's so much interesting stuff to look at your object that people are gonna just think it is wonderful. Whatever object you pick. Doesn't have to be as complicated as a shoe. Shoes are great though because they have so many different types of textures and different materials. Like the leather parts are shiny and then the cloth parts are soft looking. Some parts have stitching on them. Some parts just have a texture. So pick an object that you think has some interesting details and try to make sure you get all the way into those really small details because that's what's going to make it look realistic. And here's our picture of a shoe with the shading in. You can see the shading is what makes it look heavy by putting the shadow underneath and the shadows on the inside and giving the dark areas a shadow while I leave the light areas lighter. Especially right here, you can see like this is like the shiny part of the shoe, so there's some white in there, but this part isn't shiny at all, so it's just all brown with the dark shadows in it. So remember, focus on those details. It shows that you were paying attention to what you were drawing. The shadows and the shading on top of that just make it a little bit better, but really focus on those details because those are the things that are going to make people notice your drawing. I hope you had fun with this. We have 2 other still life drawings this week, so check those out. And I will see you next time. Have a good one. Bye.